Welcome back to the BloomBox Show, the podcast where we talk to visionaries shaping tomorrow's business world. Today, with us, we have someone who took a leap few would dare, leaving a stable legal career to chase pure creativity and in the process built one of India's most loved youth brands. We're thrilled to have her, sir, co-founder and director of the Soul Store. This is the brand that turned pop culture into a movement and casual wear into self-expression. We're thrilled to have you here, sir, co-founder and director of the Soul Store. This is the brand that turned pop culture into a movement and casual wear into self-expression. It's an honor to have you with us, sir. How are you today?
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So, sir, let's begin with our questions. Sir, you've built one of India's most loved youth brands today, but your journey started in quite an unexpected way. After leaving your legal job, you spent around nearly 8 months apprenticing at Kraayonz Tattoo Studio. That's a huge shift. What were you searching for in that moment, and what lessons from that creative, hands-on phase have stayed with you as a brand builder?
So yeah, I've had a pretty interesting career before the Soul Store started. I've done science, I've done law, I've done journalism, I've done advertising, I've learned tattooing as well. I think the one thing which was common throughout all of these career jumps was the fact that if I wasn't happy doing something, I wanted to try something else, right? And I think that common philosophy of loving what you do and getting excited every single day to show up is actually what all founders had in common when we started the Soul Store. The 8 months that I learned tattooing were actually one of the best phases of my life. Obviously, there's not that much responsibility, so it's fun. But the patience that you learn, right, dealing with various clients, understanding what their requirements are, because getting a tattoo is a pretty permanent decision.
Right.
There's also a lot of discipline that you learn. So while the outside seems very glitzy and glamoury and stuff, I think the basics of maintaining cleanliness, hygiene, cleaning equipments, there's a lot of that boring behind the scenes stuff that goes on. And I think it's similar to starting a brand, right? While we've received a lot of love from the customers, I think a lot of hard work and dedication from many team members has gone into building this whole store. So yeah, some parallels that we can draw.
I think the various fields you've been is quite inspiring and a lot to take in.
Yeah.
So, sir, back at Kraayonz, your creative process was very personal. So, designing for individuals, as you mentioned, and not markets. So, now you lead a brand that designs for millions. Are you still creatively involved, and how did you scale that personal artistic instinct into something that defines the Soul Store's vision, identity, and tone?
So to be very honest, I don't think any of the four founders are the most creative people. Also, we started this when we were 23, 24 years old, right? We are a lot older now. So we are very clear that the designs that we like are not the designs that our customers would, who are much younger than us. What's worked for us is licensing, right? I think we've been pop culture nerds throughout. So as fans of various TV shows, superheroes, cartoons, comics, football teams, we understood what kind of products we would like to wear as a fan. And I think it's that thought process and that mindset that sort of really percolated into the Soul Store. But yeah, from a creative side, I don't think either of us would really count ourselves as experts.
So, sir, like when the Soul Store began, India didn't really have a homegrown pop culture. So, what was the spark that led you and your co-founders to start it? And like, what gap were you hoping to fill it here?
So two things. One is what led us to start it very simple. We hated our jobs. Like I said, we kept trying different things to see what we like. My three co-founders are all engineers.
Right.
They all, like every other engineer, ended up in finance because that's what engineers do.
Right.
And they all collectively decided that this isn't fun and it doesn't make sense waking up every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning unhappy. So I think that's sort of the spark that we all felt where we were unhappy in our jobs and we wanted to do something fun, something different for ourselves. Also, when you're 23, 24 years old, honestly, you can afford to make mistakes. There's not that much to lose. Your first jobs don't pay you so much money that it's a big decision. And the whole idea behind the Soul Store, like I said, is that the only thing, I wouldn't say we were good at, but the only thing we were excited about was pop culture. But we've all grown up watching those movies, watching TV shows, reading comics. So we said, why not do something fun in this space where we sort of have a knack for it? There is a clear gap, right? Back in 2013, for fans like us, you could either buy fakes off the street,
Right.
or if you were lucky and you had a cousin coming back from the US or the UK or somewhere else, they would get you your favorite t-shirts. And we realized that there's a lot more fans and a lot more consumers that have grown up reading and consuming pop culture, but there was actually no brand that solved for quality and price and availability. And we found it to be a pretty big gap in the market. I think that's what the thought process was. And yeah, I mean, we just decided to start. We were very clear that the longer our initial funding lasts us, the longer we don't have to go back to a boring day job. So I think that's pretty much what drove us for the last 12 years.
So, sir, we ourselves being in the engineering fields is something that we
No
should take a
disrespect to
note
the
of.
engineer, sorry, I was just a stupid joke.
So even the name The Soul Store has a certain charm.
Yeah.
It's very soulful, and the logo feels instantly recognizable. How did you come up with the name, and like, was it spontaneous creativity or a deliberate brand decision with a story behind it?
See, in hindsight, I think I can make everything sound smart, but the honest answer was that we were 23, 24 years old. So we started with the name The Soul Store because it was genuinely from our soul. We wanted to leave the jobs that we hated and do something that we like. I think that was the idea.
And that's
then
the
because
logo.
because we were selling stuff, it just made sense to call it The Soul Store. The logo actually has had a couple of versions over the years. So we've had various shapes and sizes. The last one, I think we finalized, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. And yeah, it looks like a little soul. I think that was the idea. So we wanted our mascot to be a cute little ghost / soul, which is just
Mr. Soul.
instantly, Mr. Soul, which is just instantly sort of relatable.
So, sir, one of the Soul Store's biggest strengths is its community. People wear your merch with a sense of belonging. How did you build this cult-like following? And what's your philosophy when it comes to building genuine brand on social media rather than just focusing on sales?
Great question. So I think I'll break up our journey into two parts. Obviously, when we started the Soul Store back in 2013, online shopping was still pretty nascent, right? It isn't as popular, as common as it is today. There weren't as many online brands. So at a time where no one has heard of the Soul Store, no one knows you, no one trusts you, people are generally not comfortable shopping online. What helped us in the first couple of years was licensing. People were not buying the Soul Store. They were buying Harry Potter, they were buying Batman, they were buying Superman, they were buying one of the various comedians that we had partnered with. So working with these established brands and working with these established licenses helped us get credibility initially, right? It also makes the decision making easier because as a customer, I may not buy from a random online brand called the Soul Store because I'm not sure of the quality, the price, what if there's an issue, but I'm buying it because I'm a fan of one of these characters or these shows. Now, what helped us is your licensing helps you get the customer for the first time. But when they do purchase with your brand, they like the product, they like the quality, they trust the brand. If there's an issue, they know that the problem will get solved. I think that trust that builds over years is what has helped us in the second phase, which is why if you see the t-shirt that I'm wearing today, right? This is a part of our sold collection, which is basically our logo in various shapes, sizes, and forms. What we've realized is that if you just consistently deliver on great quality and great service, people trust your brand. It helps you launch a lot more categories, right? I call it the Apple effect or the Nike effect. Both these brands have done such a fantastic job over so many decades of launching great products that I can basically put an Apple logo or a Nike tick on any product that you see in this room, and you will genuinely be convinced that it's a high quality product. So I think that's been the journey in the last, I would say, 4 to 5 years, where people now trust the brand over consistent delivery in the last 10 to 12 years. And it's helped us get into a lot more categories like sneakers, backpacks, perfumes, accessories. It's helped us go from an online brand to an offline brand. And it's now also helped us go from a brand for India to a brand for the world. Because we will be opening our first international store later this month. So that's sort of been the journey of evolution as far as our products and design are concerned. And to answer your question regarding the cult-like community, right? I think it's again that when it comes to pop culture, when it comes to fandom, while there are a lot of brands that sell similar designs or similar fandoms online, when you look at a product designed and marketed by the Soul Store, it feels different, right? As a fan, I feel like, you know what, these guys get it. Right? From the design to the product to the detailing to the marketing. And I think just a brand that's built by pop culture nerds for pop culture nerds will have those nuances that helps build that community. So yeah, attention to detail, just boring consistency year in and year out is what helps you build a brand. It's not an overnight success.
Sir, congratulations on getting to start your first store abroad. And sir, yeah, I think one thing that people don't like to compromise on is the quality, which you clearly mentioned. And I think
You'll
that
be
is,
surprised.
yeah.
A lot of, I think, unfortunately, a lot of Indian brands seem to have that baggage or that perception that if it's an Indian brand, they're going to sort of
Right.
compromise on quality, thoda jugaad hoga. But I think we've been very, very clear from day one that we want to build a brand and products that are high quality, international standard. So when we are opening our first store internationally, there's actually not a lot that we're changing. Right from the store design to the product range to the product quality, it's pretty much what we've been doing consistently in India because we've truly built something that is ready and qualified for the international audience as well.
And yeah, I think the Gen Z crowd will get more attracted to it towards the pop culture now.
Yeah.
So you about the store openings, you I think 3 months back you also opened a store in the Sarat City Mall in
Yeah, we actually
Hyderabad.
we reopened our store there.
Acha. So you mentioned smashing industry metrics in your post. So as a brand that began online, what prompted this strong offline expansion? Like, and how has it changed your understanding of your customers?
Great question. Offline was never part of the plan. I mean, to be honest, we didn't have a plan when we started back in
Right.
2013. It was just, let's start and see where it goes. So we started a company back in 2013. We were completely self-funded for the first 5 to 6 years. We actually raised our first round of funding back in 2018 because we realized that there is a great opportunity. We're not able to keep up with the demand, which is when we raised our first round of funding. Most investors told us back in the day that we want you to continue growing your online business. If you open an offline store, we're not going to give you money because too many brands have gone offline and lost money in terms of rents, dead inventory, etc. But as a brand, our philosophy is always let's try, right? What's the worst that will happen? You'll open one store, it doesn't do well, you'll shut it. So we decided to open our first store in Linking Road, Bandra, because we're all from Bombay. We understand the city. And we were very clear that the first store has to be in a great location. If it still doesn't do well, then maybe offline is not for us. So our expectations were very low. Let's make sure we don't lose money on the first store. As long as we can break even, it's a great branding flex to say we've got a store in Linking Road, Bandra. That store from the first month itself, I think, exceeded every expectation that we had. We recovered our investment in the first, I think, 3 to 4 months itself. Most brands take 12 to 18 months to recover their investment. So we realized that there's something different about us. We can genuinely succeed offline as well. And I think that sort of trigger then led to a separate focus on offline. And today we have 60 plus stores in about 30 plus cities. So it's been a very interesting journey. I think customer behavior, what they like, what they don't like, you get instant feedback.
Right.
One of my favorite things is to actually just stand outside our stores. Because when you see lots of customers passing by with their friends and you see them saying, hey, the sold store, or hey, check out that product.
Right.
Or sometimes, if customers enter with their friends and they don't buy a product for some reason, I don't like this color, this print is a bit loud, whatever it is, I think the feedback that you can get real time from a customer in an offline store cannot be compared to any email or survey or phone calls that you do. So it's been a very interesting journey. All 60 stores of ours are profitable. It's a record that we're very, very proud of. And yeah, we've had the same discipline and the same focus, and we genuinely feel that we can easily be a 300 to 400 store brand over the next couple of years.
Right, sir. And that's quite commendable, sir. I think in your offline stores, you get hands-on experience and feedback. So that is one thing which, gives you, keeps you going.
Yeah.
So, sir, you've had some fantastic collaborations over the years, from major franchises to celebrity tie-ups. So, getting Hardik Pandya as your brand ambassador was a big move. So, how did that partnership come about, and what made him the right fit for the Soul Store? And how did you get him on agreeing to this?
Good question. So I think a lot of these milestones have happened, I think, after rounds of funding, because when you do raise money, A, there is pressure to grow. B, I think there's a huge safety net, right, where you can afford to do some experiments, take bolder bets, because you have the safety of money. So when we raised our second round of funding, if I remember correctly, we sort of thought, hey, now we've grown our online and offline business. We are at that stage where we need to sort of break out and really, really become a national brand. What do brands do? You get a celebrity, right? But we were also very clear that we don't want to just get a celebrity for the heck of it. Because if it looks like, isko paisa diya hai to bol raha hai, I think customers see through bullshit. So we were very clear that if we do get a celebrity, that celebrity has to be someone who would organically fit into the brand vibe and the brand vision. If a customer sees that person or that celebrity wearing the product, it should feel like, yes, this is something that they would normally wear, right? It can't seem forced. Hardik, I think, checked all of those boxes. I mean, in India, Bollywood and cricket
Right.
are right at the top. So anyone you get from these fields gets you sort of national recognition instantly. He's a really, really fun guy. I think his personality is also a lot more relaxed. He's not very serious, very proper. And yeah, he's just a guy you can see wearing like a nice blue shirt or like a nice oversized t-shirt with like a funky print. So we approached his team. He hadn't heard of the brand, obviously, but when we had our first couple of meetings, we told him about our brand. We showed him some of our products. He actually loved what we were building. So we tied up with him as a brand ambassador. And in fact, he loved the brand so much and the kind of good feedback that he got from customers on
He
the
started
collaboration.
investing.
He invested in the brand as well. So he was very clear that he wants an association beyond the standard brand ambassador deal. And yeah, he's on board as an investor as well. So it's been a great journey.
So, sir, if you could pick anyone for a future collaboration, a dream ambassador, so who would it be?
I think we're yet thinking there's a couple of names that we have in mind, but let's see. You'll probably find out soon.
Sure, sir. So you started the company with your co-founders, including Vedant, sir. So they say the co-founder relationship is like a long-term marriage,
Yeah.
full of trust, tension, and teamwork.
Yeah.
So how have you all sustained that bond over a decade? And how do you divide responsibilities? And what's your approach to resolving creative or business disagreements? So I guess you guys are friends.
Yeah.
So how did you go through that?
Great question. It's probably my favorite question of the podcast. I also remember, I'm going to tell you a funny story. A lot of investors who were evaluating the Soul Store loved the business, loved the vision, loved the potential. They were always scared that there are four founders, right? Standard question. What if you all have disagreements? Who takes the final call? More brains means more opinions. How do you ever actually take a decision forward? I think what's helped us is a couple of things. One is all of us have known each other since before the Soul Store started, right? So we've all been friends, gone to college, had friends in common, something or the other. Or my three co-founders who had their first job together, that's where they met. I think what's always helped is trust, right? I think all of us, whenever we have any sort of conflict or we're making a decision, we are very clear that all of us have the same finish line in mind, right? Now, each of us may have a different opinion, we may have a different direction, we may have a different solution, but having that trust that all of us are eventually fighting for the same goal means that I don't feel like I'm giving up my decision, or I don't feel like, shit, this is how I wanted to do something just because you have a different opinion. I trust that if we do things your way, we're still going to end up at the same space. I think that trust is super important. Also, when we started the company, honestly, there was four of us, a handful of people, so all of us did everything. There wasn't enough work for four people. So there's no division of responsibilities and teams. But I think as the organization grew bigger, we sort of naturally moved towards managing certain teams and certain parts of the business that we were more inclined towards. So it's been more of an organic shift over the years. Also, what we now do at the company at a certain scale, right? A lot of decisions that we used to probably make earlier are now taken by the leadership. We have a very, very strong team at the Soul Store, very high on ownership. They understand what we're trying to build. So a lot of decision making actually doesn't happen at the founder level anymore. And that's something that we've worked very, very hard to achieve. What we also do is, because the four of us are now looking at different aspects of the business, if there's any big decision to be made, we will all discuss it, argue it out, fight it out. But eventually the person who's sort of owning that responsibility will take the final decision, because then the ownership also lies with that person in terms of how things play out.
So basically, you've divided amongst yourselves.
Yeah.
So as someone who studied law and even interned at BBC News before turning entrepreneur,
You've done a lot of research.
yes, sir,
Yeah.
that is our job.
Awesome.
So how often do you find your earlier experiences shaping the way you operate today? Has your legal background, especially in negotiation or structure, been a quite advantage in running a fast-growing company?
Yeah, I think the one thing which, while I hated most of my jobs before the Soul Store, what I was also very clear about is that when I'm trying something, whether it's an internship or a job, I'm going to give it my 100% to actually see if I like it. And then if I don't, that's perfectly fine. I learned client servicing while interning at the tattoo studio, because every discussion with the client is, like I said, it's a permanent decision, right? Having the patience to deal with clients, understanding what they want, what they don't want, is pretty much a life skill that I think anyone can be better off with. Doing law, both in terms of a degree and in terms of work, has obviously been super helpful at the Soul Store, because there are agreements day in and day out, notices, various things to deal with. So having a legal background and that sort of business knowledge is a great boost to have. Journalism was a lot of fun. I had to research. I remember doing a 2-month internship, and when you're interning in journalism, you don't get your name in the newspaper. You do a lot of background work that doesn't get seen. So I've done a lot of boring research. I think just working hard without expecting your name to be there, or without expecting that you're going to get all the glory. Entrepreneurship is a lot of that, because till the company is not a success, or till people have not heard of you, it's just working hard in the background again and again and again, and hoping something works out. So a lot of life lessons, I would say, that I've sort of picked up with these various stints.
So, sir, over the years, the Soul Store has done a great job of celebrating pop culture while still maintaining its own personality.
Yeah.
Was there ever a point where you were worried about it being just a store like the other brands instead of your own? And how did the creation of your mascot, Mr. Soul, help in strengthening your own brand identity?
Very interesting question. So I think the one advantage that we've had, right? Most brands firstly, we don't like to use the word fashion or fast fashion. It's a very scary space for us, because if you're always trying to predict what customers want next, you're trying to be ahead of the next trend. It's a scary pace, right? It's basically a gamble. I think what has worked for us is that we've always been a part of pop culture discussions. Now, whether people want superhero merchandise today, they want cartoons, they want anime, they want football, they want music, I think whatever is relevant, whatever is cool, whatever is popular culture, the Soul Store will be at the forefront of it. This has been a big advantage, where we don't need to predict what the customers want next. We simply deliver what their expectations are. And I think that's been a big, big advantage for us.
Right.
And then, as I said, once people try you out for the licenses or the pop culture and they trust the quality, it gives us the ability as a brand to launch a lot more products, to also launch stuff with our logo. So we realized that while customers came for the license bit, the community and the love around the Soul Store brand was growing over a period. You can see this in your following, you can see this in your organic sales, right? Which is basically sales which are not driven by ads or purchases. You're looking at the searches for the brand going up on Google, Amazon, Myntra. So as the Soul Store brand grew, we were very, very certain that people now love the Soul Store as much as they love their characters. We launched our first TSS Originals range, I think about a year and a half or two ago. As an experiment, we priced it at a higher price, because there's a lot more detailing that goes in. And those products actually sold out faster than the superheroes and the cartoons and the anime. So it's been a very humbling and nice feeling to see that people now love the Soul Store brand more than their favorite superheroes and cartoons and comics as well.
Even my brothers are very fond of the teas which the Soul Store sells.
Thank you.
So moving on, having moved from digital to retail, what's one insight you've discovered from observing customers in physical stores?
Yeah.
Something your online analytics could never have realized.
So there's a lot of learnings we've had, honestly, as we've opened more stores. You've gone from your metros and bigger cities to smaller cities. We've gone from opening smaller formats of 500, 600, 700 square feet to now 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 square feet. There's a couple of interesting insights. One is, when you're selling a more expensive product, which has more detailing, more technique, etc., it's a lot easier to sell these products offline. Because as a customer, when I'm seeing a mock-up on my phone or my laptop, I may not immediately be able to understand what the quality is or why I should be paying a certain price. The moment you see the same product offline in a store, I think it's a lot easier to drive that value for money proposition. So we've realized that in our store, because on our website we have about 5,000 products. In any store, on an average, you would have 200 to 300 products, right? We've realized that the average selling price of products in our stores is significantly higher than our website. The average order value is also significantly higher, although you have fewer options, simply because when a customer is able to try the product, they're able to see how it looks on themselves. Your conversion and your decision-making process is a lot faster. Returns are obviously also a lot less, because once you've tried the product and you've seen exactly how it fits you, you're less likely to return the product. There have also been a couple of interesting categories which did not do as well online, but have done really well in offline. So for some reason, there are certain fits and certain products which our online customers really love. There are some other fits and products which our offline customers really love. And the advantage is we can basically manufacture both and just sell them in different spaces. So yeah, a couple of interesting insights there.
So the Harsh Lal, who was sketching tattoos or interning at BBC News, is very different from the co-founder and director today.
I don't know. I think it's probably the same, it's just different versions. But
So do you ever feel that your role has ever evolved personally or professionally? And like, what did you miss about the early startup chaos? Like, and what challenges today do you never saw coming back then?
So I don't think I miss any part of it. I think it's been an interesting journey. I still have a lot of, I would say, 15, 20, 25-year-old kiddishness in me. No, I would say kiddishness, immaturity in me. So even in the middle of a serious meeting, there'll always be like a stupid joke. There'll be something fun. And I think that whole concept of genuinely starting the soul store to have fun and enjoy yourself hasn't changed. So even if you check out our office later, you see a lot of people like just moving around, having fun. You see clothes being thrown. It's absolute chaos. But I think that initial magic or that whole thing of, like just do something fun and have a good time hasn't changed. Although the company has sort of scale and more responsibilities. Also, as far as challenges are concerned, I keep using the video game analogy. I think starting a company is like playing a video game. When you're playing a video game, you're level 1, right? The first or the second or the third time you played, you're going to pass it. Then every time you go back to level 1, it's easy, right? But then level 2 is difficult, then level 3 is. I think it's the same with the soul store. A lot of initial challenges that we had, right? Vendors are not taking you seriously because you're not their priority, your quantities are smaller, you're facing basic issues with your courier partners. A lot of those teething issues obviously get taken care of because of the scale that the company is at. But it's like a video game. With every level, there's a new challenge. Right. When we went from online to offline, there were challenges. When we expanded from apparel to non-apparel categories, I'm sure when we open our first international store, there will be a lot of challenges and learnings. But I think that's the fun part. That if there are new challenges, it means you are leveling up in the video game. I think if your challenges go away, it means you're probably stuck at the same level. You figured out how to win here, but you just not move forward from there. So I don't think the challenges ever stop. So if anyone is thinking, I'm going to work hard for the first couple of years and then life is going to be super easy, I think your challenges only evolve over a period, they don't disappear.
Yeah, so that's never true. So you still having that 24, 25-year-old inner child in yourself.
100%.
So what advice would you give him now, like being today present, or what would you say to a young student entrepreneur who has a brilliant idea but is afraid to take the first step?
So the one advice I would give most people who are in that phase, especially a lot of people who are in college or just sort of graduating, I would always recommend doing a job at least for a couple of years before starting out. And there's a few reasons. One is, honestly, we were super immature when we started the company. I think having maybe a few more years of work experience teaches you discipline. It gives you a much better idea of team structure. How does an organization or an office actually function, right? Which no one really teaches you in school or college. The second advantage would be when you're working somewhere, right, for a couple of years, you can at least have some amount of savings. So tomorrow, if you need money to put into your startup, you want to be able to sustain for 6 months, 12 months without being able to take a salary. You should be able to have that comfort, right? You can't start paying yourself from day one if you're starting your own company. And I think just the maturity that having a boring, disciplined job where you need to wake up every day at a certain time, show up to work, you need to deal with the boss that you don't like. I think that discipline and that sort of ego smashing that a job has is very, very critical to sort of prepare you for entrepreneurship. It also gives you a couple of years to sort of work on your idea, talk to people, get their feedback, maybe refine it. Because it's very easy to have 100 ideas, but I think sharpening that idea and then actually executing it is a completely different challenge. So don't just chase an idea that seems interesting or go on ChatGPT and think of 5 different things that will get you rich. I think it takes a lot more hard work. So build the discipline versus chasing the idea.
So what would you recommend? Like working in a startup for the first 2 years or working for a big MNC?
Honestly, there's no right answer. I think now there are a lot more opportunities to work in startups. I think back in 2012, 2013, there weren't even that many startups to join. It really depends on what field you're in, what you want to pursue, and where you feel you'll be able to get maximum opportunities. I also feel that today the ecosystem is a lot better. So even if you're working at an MNC or a startup, it's very easy to reach out to people over email or on LinkedIn to discuss your idea, get mentors, and sort of work in that direction. Yeah, so I feel the ecosystem is a lot more suited and conducive to entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so because I think in the startup space, you tend to learn a lot of stuff
Yeah.
which you cannot in some corporate office.
Yeah. Join the soul, so there's a lot of learnings.
Yes, surely. I love that. And so finally, after 12 years of building a brand that's redefined cool for an entire generation, what's next? How do you envision the Soul Store evolving in the next few years, both creatively and globally? So, like one thing you mentioned that you're opening your store abroad.
Yeah.
So, what's more?
So honestly, it's a lot more of the same stuff. We've expanded from apparels to non-apparels, but I think from a category perspective, there's a lot of work for us to do. People love our designs, they love our quality, they love our brand. I think with these conditions, there's a lot more categories that we can get into, especially non-apparel, which we'll be seeing a lot more of over the next year or so. Even with our offline stores, we've barely scratched the surface. I think in a country as big as India, 60 stores is a drop in the ocean. So there's a lot more cities, there's a lot more locations that we want to open. We want to improve our operations, our systems, and build a foundation for the next 2, 3, 400 stores. International, again, it's literally our first store in one market, right? Which is in the Middle East. So within the Middle East itself, I think there's an easy potential to do maybe 50, 60, 70 stores over the next few years. And if that template works out, you can actually take that same template to various international markets. So I feel a lot of stuff that we've been working on and that we've started off as is very initial days, although the Soul Store is 12 years old. And how these plan out in the next 6 months will give us a very, very clear path on what the next few years look like. And from a business perspective, if all things go as per plan, then yeah, I guess IPO in the next couple of years is more from an investor perspective, but yeah, I guess it's part of the journey.
All the best to you for that.
Thank you so much.
And so to conclude, what is one advice that you would like to give to your young minds?
So we have one famous mantra in our office. It's everything is figure outable. And I think when you're starting your own organization, is probably the most important mindset to have, because every single day you're going to have some new challenge, some new stupidity, which you're not prepared for. But I think if you approach it with the mindset that, okay, I didn't know how this happened or I don't know what's going on, but we will somehow figure it out is very important. Otherwise, it can be very, very easy to sort of get completely drained down and seem clueless. Hey, this happened. Why is this breaking? Why is that breaking? So you have to show up every single day knowing that you're going to deal with something for the first time, but also knowing that you've managed to figure it out till now and you will figure it out even going forward. So
I think that is also one of the things that engineering teaches us over the period of 4 years.
yeah, absolutely.
On behalf of BloomBox and all our listeners, I want to extend a massive thank you to our guest, Harsh sir. Your insights into building the Soul Store from the ground up have been both practical and truly inspiring. We are so grateful for the time and wisdom you've shared with our community today. To see what Harsh sir has and his team are up to, you can follow the Soul Store on social media.
Awesome. Thank you.
And follow BloomBox for more such updates.